Hi guys, Will, just time prepping. How you guys doing? Let me turn this camera back a little bit. I was messing around, not quite seeing the rest of my head there. Anyway, this is a follow-up to the story time with Will. I'm gonna start doing these on Mondays. I'll be starting all the way back at the beginning of the book that we're reading and come up to exactly where we left off at. I'm gonna start doing that on Mondays, and then what that's going to do is the people that are following along with the storyline will kind of catch up to what's going on. I know some younger folks' minds are quicker than the older folks' minds, but it kind of picks you up to where we're going to stake off tomorrow. Also, what that does is say that you're starting to listen to the story starting tomorrow, but you didn't really get in on the first part, so what that will do will make the new folks coming on and listening to the story will kind of catch them up. So that's the reasoning behind that. It will catch up the new people coming in, but it'll also refresh the memory of the ones that have been since the beginning of the book. So that's kind of where I'm at with that, and I thought that would be a good idea. So if you don't like it, you can always leave the comments down below and tell me what your thoughts are on that. But before we get started, I want to tell you guys exactly what's going on here. You guys are kind of used to seeing me drop a video in every day and doing one video a day. And my mentor, he's the one that taught me how to do it that way. But towards the end of the 2018 year and going into 2019, I want to make some changes in 2019. So what I'm doing is I'm taking these last few weeks of 2019 or 18, excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm taking these last few weeks of 2018 and I'm only going to be making maybe 1 or 2 videos a week so that I can get into the backgrounds of my channel, and I'm just making these small changes. So you're going to be seeing me do more live streams, and maybe drop some videos in every other day or maybe every second day or something like that in 2019. And that is because I want to start putting my content together. I know my topics ahead of time and I always take care of it. But what I want to do is I want to be able to add a little more content to the knowledge end of it. And that'll give you guys a broader understanding of what's going on in the prepping community. And you guys know that that's my niche. I cover a lot of things on YouTube. Prepping is my niche because I've spent a lot of my life outdoors, and you guys know this. But I'm limited now because of my COPD. I've had COPD for about 10 or 11 years now, so it's starting to slow me down. I can't spend so much time outdoors like I used to, so I'm trying to pass that along to the newer folks that are just starting to prep and whatnot. So with all that said, you guys can see where I'm going. I'm trying to change the way I do the channel. You guys have been in for the green screen. I had tinkered around with the green screen before with just still images in the background while we did our live streams and stuff. But if you guys have been with me for the last few days or whatever, you'll see that now I'm starting to do the network browse on my OBS. So I'm putting some animated stuff behind me while we're doing the live streams and whatnot. And then I am trying to integrate during the winter months when you can't really get outside to do prepping videos and whatnot. I'm going to start doing the green screen prepping videos where it looks like you're outside. It feels like you're outside, but guess what? You're not outside. You're just looking at another picture. But that's where I'm at, and that's the things I want to do moving in. Another thing I want to do in 2019 is I want to start doing some collabs and stuff, so you'll be seeing me doing some hangouts where I can get some people up on the stage with me, the little thing down here shows the people online and stuff. I want to start doing some of that, get some of you folks that have been with me for a while up on the up on the stage with me and kind of get your channel some notoriety and stuff. So these are all things that I'm working on in the background now to make it work in 2019. So that's why you're not really seeing too much of me right now, you know. So don't get excited. I'm not slowing down, not giving up, just changing. So just be patient with me, and in 2019 we're going to have a lot of fun. I've got some really good stuff lined up. So pay attention. I'll keep updating you as things change. So let's get going on today's thing. What it is, it's going to be a follow-up as to what we've read so far. So I've made some notes, and we're going to go through each chapter so that you kind of understand where we're at. It was a really slow, dull beginning, if you guys remember that have been with me. But it's starting to pick up pace now, and I want you guys to be able to stay on pace with it and still remember what we talked about the week before. So let's get going, okay? So far what we know is that nuclear warheads have been launched on the United States, okay? This is what we know already. It's some lunatic, a terrorist, got a hold of the nuclear codes and typed them in, and he sent some nukes all over the world. Excuse me, that was terrible. Anyway, they have sent nukes all over the world, so they're sending nukes back to our country. And so the key players right now, at the beginning of the story, they started out being this guy called Carter, and he was the president of the United States. When all this started, he was in his first year of his presidency, and his chief of staff was called Ben Styler or something like that, and then Sealing, that's what it was, Ben Sealing, and he was his chief of staff. So he was trying to keep the president moving through the first part of the book, trying to get him to announce to the country what's going on and everything, and he's kind of him-hawing around, you know, trying to figure out what the right protocol is, how much he can actually tell the nation, all this stuff, you know. So that's where it opens up into with the first chapter of the book, President Carter and his chief of staff, Ben, and they're hustling through the White House. You can just see it when you're reading it. He's hustling through the White House trying to get everything ready. One thing I didn't tell you, and the name of the book is called Survivors. It's about a nuclear attack on the United States, and it was written by Angela White. So it's not my book, but it is a good book. I've read this book before I started telling you guys about it. It's a good book. It really gets you guys to thinking. So if you want to check the book out on your own, you can. It's at the Amazon store, so go check it out. Survivors by Angela White. Okay, so back to the story is, the President Carter, he had just found out that morning that this parchment, they had found this parchment in France, and it was supposed to be having something to do with the Freemasons, and it's called the Gospel of Mary, and it was a tale of murder, extortion, kidnapping, forced reproduction, and it happened since the time of Christ. It's been happening all this time. It's called the Gospel of Mary. So the president's getting ready to go on the air, and he's going to tell the American people what's going on. He's not going to tell them about the Gospel of Mary, but he is going to tell them that a terrorist got a hold of our nuclear codes and that they are targeting cities in the United States. Now, the targets of the attack, as he tells the American people, are going to be Washington, D.C., it's going to be Houston, Texas, it's going to be Lansing, Michigan, it's going to be New York City, and it's going to be L.A. So he's trying to get the people that live in these cities to start evacuating out of them so they're not caught in the nuclear blast. Excuse me. So that's where he's at. And right at the end of the book, the president jumps in the helicopter. He's in there with his wife and his two twin sons, and they take off from the White House. And as they're just getting in the air, the helicopter gets blasted with a RPG, rocket-propelled grenade launcher, and it goes down. Everybody on the whole helicopter is dead. And that's where they end the first chapter at. So then we go in to the second chapter, and it's telling you a little bit about what's going on even more. It's trying to pick up the giddy up go of the story, okay? So the second chapter comes on. It's telling you about the former president. The former president's name was Robert Milton. That was the name of the outgoing president. He became a traitor, having to do something with the election. He was thinking that the election wasn't fair. So what he did was he became a traitor to the country, and he started entering the codes into the computer. Now, after he got the launch codes in there, he actually turned around, he put the gun to the bottom of his chin, and he blew his head off. But before he did that, he wrote something on the wall with his own blood, and he was bloody from the attack. He took his own blood and he wrote on the wall, then he killed himself, just so you understand, okay? What he wrote on the wall was, "I did it for my country because my country wouldn't do it for herself." And that's all he wrote, and then he killed himself. Now, why he did it was unclear, but they think it had something to do with the Freemasons. If you know anything about the Freemasons actually ran this country way back when, and I'm not going to go into that. That's a whole nother story, but you can look it up at Google Freemasons. So then from there, we go right into chapter 3. In chapter 3, it starts telling you about the places where the bombs are being dropped, okay? Well, this is about Mark Brady. He is in Virginia, and he's telling everybody what's going on there. Now, what they had done was they had started the draft again. Anybody 18 years or older had to sign up for the draft, no exceptions, no medical things, in other words. So if you refused to sign up for the draft, then they would just shoot you dead. That was the no exceptions thing. So they sent these, I guess draft patrols is the best way to put it. A bunch of troops knocking on doors, saying, "We want your son, we want your son, we want your son." And then the ones that wouldn't go, they would shoot. If they were there, they would shoot them. If they told them they weren't there, then they got put on the naughty list, and they would be shot when they were found. So that's how chapter 3 is, and that's what this Mark Brady, he was telling the story about this. And he's an armed guy. He is military, and he is just trying to get home on leave because there's a family emergency there. So that's what he's trying to do. The citizens are saying the citizens were being shot. There's a lot of citizens being shot because they were being belligerent to the troops and stuff like that. And the 18-year-olds that didn't want to go fight were being shot on sight. So that's what Mark was doing. He wanted to get home. He knew that his leave, he was off on leave. He knew that if he was telling them that he was on leave, he would be turned around to be sent back to his unit. So he was here while this group of troops were there, and they were shooting people. Well, he just fell down on top of the stack of bodies, and he just laid there, acted dead. And that's where that ends up at. It starts a new chapter. It starts chapter 5, and that's where Samantha Moore is. And Samantha Moore is a lady that works for the EPA. Well, they had gathered all these people up that worked for the EPA, and they had loaded them onto a helicopter, and they were going to take them off, and they were going to take them to NORAD, Colorado. I don't know if you guys know too much about NORAD, but NORAD is a big bunker built into a big wall, and it goes down deep into the earth. And they were taking them all there, and their chopper got hit by the EMP. And EMP is electronic pulse, electromagnetic pulse. And that's something that they just send up into the air, and they usually it comes from space. If you read up on it, they all come down from space. But they got the brunt of the EMP, which made their helicopter just seize up in the air, fall down to Earth, and they all perished on that helicopter except for, you got it, Samantha. Samantha Moore was the only survivor of the plane crash. So she was laying there and she's trying to get her wits about her and everything. And these guys came by and she thought that they were the good guys, but they weren't. The one guy, if you remember me reading, saying, "Oh, look, it's a woman. I told you it was a woman." And they drag her out of there because they don't want to be around all those bodies in that glass. And they drag her out of there, and they're going to gang rape her, and that's where that chapter ends up at. And I was glad it did, because I didn't like what they were doing to her. So that's where that ended off, and that's where we're going to pick up tomorrow. We're going to pick up tomorrow, and it's going to be a new person that's telling the story, and it's going to be a new state. So I'll tell you what, I start on Tuesdays, and I start at 9 o'clock, and it's story time with Will. So if you guys want to come listen to the story, come on down, because we got a lot of story to go through. It is starting to get interesting. That's the only thing I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to give away any more story, but I am going to tell you it's starting to pick up the momentum. You don't want to miss the next chapter. That's all I've got for you guys today. Remember, tomorrow is Story Time with Will. It starts at 9 a.m., and that's Greater Mountain Time, you guys. So I will see you there. You guys know what? Can't do any of it without you guys. You guys know I love each and every one of you. Love you to death. The new changes you're gonna like it. We're gonna do a lot of more fun stuff in 19. Hooray, right? So it's God bless you. God bless me. God bless USA. Till next time, thanks for watching.